Hi, I'm Chelsea and I study politics at the University of Sheffield.
Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. I'm Laura and I'm currently in my second year studying law at the University of Edinburgh.
I chose to study politics at university because it's something I'm really passionate about. I've already studied it at A-level and I really enjoyed it. So when picking a subject, make sure it's something that you're really going to enjoy because you are committing to it for 3 years. And as well, make sure to check different prospectuses from universities because it might be the same subject but you might study different things at different universities, so that's also something that I would consider when choosing a university. I'd also look at league tables, and honestly on open days just going to the university, seeing the campus, like you'll get a feel for the city and which one's right for you, and for me Sheffield was that one.
Going into my last year of school, like most people, I didn't really know what I wanted to study. So I started by looking at all the subjects I had taken for my exams and which one I enjoyed the most out of all of those. And that happened to be English and history. But I also knew that I wanted to study something a bit different that I'd never had the opportunity to study at school before. So I went to one of the university's websites and there was a big list of all the courses offered there. And I went through and crossed off the ones that I definitely didn't want to do, which left me with some subjects that I'd never considered before, for example, journalism and law. I then went to a couple of university open days and I attended some talks to learn a bit more about these. And even though I wasn't sure that I wanted to be a lawyer after university, I ultimately chose law because it fulfilled everything that I was looking for, in the sense that it combined all the skills involved in English and history, which I loved, and was also something totally different, which I was really interested in studying. And in terms of deciding what university I wanted to go to, I come from Aberdeen, so I knew it made sense to go to a university in Scotland, as your tuition fees are paid for you here if you're a Scottish student. So I then thought about the differences in the law degree programs offered at each university, but I realised that actually ultimately the modules offered in law are relatively similar across all the Scottish universities. So I then focused on thinking about where I wanted to live, and I made a list of all the universities that offered law, and I thought about whether I wanted to stay at home or move away, stay in the city or the country, how spread out the campus was, travelling distance from the university to Aberdeen, also things to do in that city, and lastly the student satisfaction and university league tables that I looked up online. However, I wouldn't put too much weight on those because they are quite subjective. I then went to a few university open days to get a feel for the city and what the university was like, and in the end I went with my instinct and chose Edinburgh because I loved the city. I think it's really important to go with your instinct, as that tends to be where you'll thrive. But what it's also important to realize is that although living in a place that you like really helps, I wouldn't worry about what place you choose too much, because ultimately it's what makes a place feel like home is the people.
So I think there's a very big transition between your last year in college / sixth form and then your first year at university. For me, one of the biggest challenges was how independent university is. I was very used to staying after school and, you know, give my teachers essays all the time, and they'd just sit next to me and go through feedback, and, you know, it was fine. I could do that any day I needed, basically. Whereas at university, there's certain office hours you have to go to, and you're just expected to do a lot more on your own, which makes complete sense. But I think that is probably one of the biggest changes, how independent you have to be.
I had no idea what university was going to be like, I think ultimately the difference between school and university is at university you are fully in control of your learning. So in school we had tests at the end of every topic, we were given homework to make sure that we were on top of everything. But at university you have lectures and you have tutorials, and you're responsible for making sure that you attend them and you do the work for them and you do the reading for them. But I think it's important to remember that just because there is more independent learning involved doesn't mean that there's less support than there is at school, because you can always ask your tutor, your lecturer, your friends if you're struggling or if you have a question. The other thing I found a bit strange to get used to at first was having more spare time. So I have about 2 lectures and 1 tutorial a day during the week, and each one is about an hour long. Whereas at school you're in from 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. So this is great because it means you can join so many more societies and do things whenever you want to, but it does mean you have to be more disciplined than you were at school in order to use that time effectively to make sure you get all your work done. My top tip for handling the transition and the first term of university would be to make yourself a routine and also not take too much on in your first semester. I think give yourself that time to adjust to your new surroundings, to make friends, and also discover more about the place that you're living in.
I did decide to move to Sheffield and I've lived there for the last 3 years. I 100% would recommend moving to your campus if you can. It's so incredible just meeting so many new people. I'd say it's one of the highlights of university, meeting people from across the UK, across the world, so range of different subjects with different interests. Like, I think it's really, really good, so I definitely recommend doing that. And the biggest thing for me when moving away from home was cooking. I could not cook. I lived off chicken goujon wraps, which is not ideal. But by my 3rd year I now cook what I'd consider nutritious, mostly meals, at least much better than 1st year anyway.
I moved from Aberdeen to Edinburgh for university, and like most people, I was a bit homesick at first. But then once I started to fill up my schedule and keep busy with societies, with classes, with social activities, with friends, then I really began to enjoy having so much freedom, choosing what I did, what I had for dinner, leading such a varied life. And in terms of making friends, I used to move countries a lot when I was younger, which was a bit strange because you'd always go in to the school and everybody already knew each other. Whereas the fantastic thing about university is that no one knows each other, so everyone is super willing to come and make friends. And in my first year of university, I stayed in university accommodation. This is also called student halls. There was about 100 students in my building. We each had our own room, and then we shared a common room, a kitchen, and bathrooms on each floor of the building. It was so much fun living with lots of other people the same age as me and from all over the world, and I think that was one of the best ways to make friends at university. I really enjoyed it.
My advice to student finance would be to do it as soon as it opens. That way it gives you plenty of time if you don't understand a part of the form or it takes one of your parents a bit longer to fill out theirs. If you get plenty of time, your payments won't be late and there'll be less stress. For me, I did manage to get the highest loan, so it is what I would consider enough money to last. The only issue is it is a bit daunting getting that amount of money in big chunks, knowing you have to budget it for the entire term. So I just recommend budgeting. If you don't get the highest loan, I know lots of people that have jobs. I also had a job, so I think people can work as well. I don't think that would be too much of a detriment to your studies.
Student finance was really quick to sort out. If you're a Scottish student, then the Scottish Government currently pays for your tuition fees, and you can also apply for a student loan. So I applied online on the Student Awards Agency Scotland website for my tuition fees and my student loan, and the application was really quick, only took about 20 minutes I think. So, and then when I started in September, my tuition fees were paid and my student loan came in every month. Regarding whether my student loan is something that I worry about, when applying for my loan, I made sure I only took out what I thought was necessary and realistic to enable me to enjoy my time at university and get the most out of it whilst not worrying too much about my finances. But remember that you don't have to pay off your student loan until you've graduated and start working. And it's also really worth remembering that your university experience is a financial investment into your personal development, and your student loan is part of that. So I find it really useful to visualize myself as a startup business, and startup business has so many possibilities and opportunities before it, but obviously it needs some financial investment to get it to where it needs to be to become a successful business. And I think that's basically the same position a student is in. So just see your student loan as, rather than a hindrance to you, it's something that will get you to where you want to be ultimately.
So you learn so many different skills from the university experience. You learn domestic skills, how to cook and clean for yourself, do your washing, ironing. I learned not to put certain things in the dryer. But yeah, and then you learn how to budget because you're completely in control of your money. You have to pay rent, you have to do all these kind of things. But then you learn so many social skills by just living with and meeting people from across the country. People have different ways of life, different cultures, different beliefs. So you learn things like that, and then your actual degree will teach you so many skills like time management, analytical skills. So yeah, I think you learn just a complete variety of things.
University is so much more than just academic education. It's life education, in my view. It gives you the opportunity to pick up so many skills, and because of that, I think you make the transition from being a young person to a young adult. And I've learned a lot of really useful day-to-day things, like how council tax works, how to take meter readings from my gas and electricity bills, learning how to shop and cook breakfast, lunch and dinner for myself, of course how to budget. And this has made me so much more independent, so much more willing to solve problems by myself, and also a lot more confident about making decisions over my own life and feeling in control of how I live my life. And because of this, I'm much more willing to say yes to opportunities and also to push myself out my comfort zone, which I think are really important to be successful at life.
So for me, I was very torn on coming out of college. I'd finished the Smart Futures programme and I really did enjoy it, and I could see myself working on a scheme like EY's. But then I loved school so much. I loved sixth form so much. I loved politics. I always saw myself going to university and I just didn't know what to do. But I spoke to some people who helped the programme who were on the graduate scheme, and they said like some of them had done politics, geography, economics, like a complete array of subjects, and they were on the grad scheme and they were really happy that they'd done both. So it made me realise, I don't have to shut myself off. I can follow my dream of going to university and I can at the same time, it doesn't close any doors.
In my last year of school, I didn't know about all of the options that were available to me. I was only told about university. So I'd really recommend that you all try and make an informed decision by learning about all the options available to you. But even if I had known about other opportunities for school leavers, I think I would have still picked university because I didn't know what career I wanted to go into. So I didn't feel ready to commit to, for example, an apprenticeship. University has given me that breathing space between school and a career, to learn more about what I'm actually interested in, what I'm capable of, and to use that time to get an insight into different career paths so I can make a more informed decision when I graduate about what sector I'd like to go into, whilst giving me a qualification that will be recognised all around the world by all employers. And also because one of the really unique things about university is that alongside learning about your subject, you're given so many other opportunities to develop personally, to grow your mind and make your life as colourful as possible, and realize that actually you're in control of how you decide to live your life. So for example, I've been able to join so many societies that I'm really passionate about, to meet so many other young people who are doing things that are so inspiring, which has inspired myself. And you can do all of this alongside having the support. For example, there's the career service, there's mental health services, there's the business development service, to do all of these things.
My advice for people who are considering going to university but unsure would be to think about your motives. Like, why do you want to go to university? Do you think that is a good enough reason for yourself? You know, can you get what you want to get out of university out of an apprenticeship? Or do you value the other aspects of university that maybe an apprenticeship doesn't offer? I just do what you love. I think everyone's got kind of a gut feeling of what they want to do, so I'd say just follow your gut. And you know, even if you're unsure, apply to both, apply for university, apply for apprenticeships, and then you've not closed any doors off just yet. And just, you know, listen to people, but ultimately know it's your decision.
My advice would be, whenever you're faced with a decision, do your research, write a pros and cons list if you can't decide, and then go with your instinct. My second piece of advice, something that I really wish I'd known, was that although choosing what you want to do after school is a big decision, you need to remember that your decision now doesn't set you on one path that you can never change from for the rest of your life. So, for example, you may choose to do an apprenticeship now, but that doesn't mean that you can't go to university later. Or you may choose to study biology now, but that doesn't mean that you can't then become a lawyer. So go with what feels right for you. Don't compare yourself for others. And at the same time, I found going to university, it was a completely new experience and it was nerve-wracking because of that. But I have got so much out of it. I've had some of the best experiences and opportunities. And so don't be afraid to push yourself, because that's the only way that you'll find out exactly what you're capable of.